Hey everybody, happy Friday. We made it, another weekend, right? If I look like I'm sweating, it's because I am. I've just been running around. I'm in my home office today and I've been running around like a chicken with our head cut off trying to pack a bunch of stuff up because we are going out of town for the holiday weekend. I know, people don't think of like Halloween as the holiday weekend, right? But my little broke best friend that lives with me, my 6-year-old, and I are going to take off and see some girlfriends. So we are really excited. We get to do some trick-or-treating later. It's going to be fun. We did a bunch of baking this week too. She loves to bake. What she really loves to do is decorate the cookies. And I should get smarter and just like buy cookies for her to decorate because it's a lot of work for mama, just saying. So tell me in the comments what you're up to this weekend. I really would love to hear. I know some of us like love Halloween and some of us are like, meh. It's just, I try to turn my light off outside so nobody knows I'm home and expects candy from me. So I know it varies. Like people are either all in sometimes or not in at all, right? And I know like if you go through neighborhoods, there's like graveyards in one household and then no light on and no candy out in the next. You know what I'm saying? So tell me what you're going to do this weekend, what you're up to. I want to hear about it. I have you on both Instagram and Facebook tonight. So if I'm looking back and forth, that is why I'm trying to give everybody my eye contact as best as I can. So Learn to Love Your Story started group coaching this week, and it was so amazing, you guys. I know I'm a nerd, but man, there is just something like the synergy, right? The energy behind having a group of women together, talking, sharing, learning from one another is just amazing. And when really powerful women get together and want to make other women more powerful, boom, it's like magic. I don't even know how to explain it other than that. It's like magic. You think girls' weekends are fun? Holy moly. Coaching with a group of women like this, it's going to be the best next 20 to 24 weeks of my life, I think. It's just going to be so exciting. It's such an honor to be part of this. And it's a goal of mine. It's kind of like a wish of mine, maybe. I don't know. That's been a long time coming. So I'm just really excited to have it be in its infancy stages. Don't worry if you missed masterclass because there's 2 more days. I'm not going to take down any of the masterclass until Sunday midnight. If I fall asleep, probably Monday morning at 6 a.m. Just saying. Anyway, so I'm not taking that down. If you want to see these 5 masterclasses, they're still free to you on Take Back Your Life masterclass. If you haven't signed up, head over to learntoloveyourstory.com. Click in the menu on free masterclass, and the rest will be quite self-explanatory. And then you can get into that private Facebook group. And as part of that private Facebook group, you'll see that I have a guide with all 5 of the master classes. So this is about 5 running hours. You got the weekend, right? 5 running hours of teaching you about how to be compassionate with yourself and self-aware, and what I call compassionate self-awareness. Really understanding yourself on a level of, I know why I participate in my own suffering, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it. Like, I'm just going to notice and make some changes, and also helping to dismantle some of the cultural rules and social rules and stuff you've learned in your family, stuff you learned by religion that just isn't serving you anymore. This programming and conditioning constructs that are really heavy on us. Like the easiest one for me to point out is just women body image, right? Like the media is not kind. It wants us all to be a certain size, a certain height, and a certain age range. And if we're not in that, then somehow we need to exercise, diet, or use makeup and clothing to make up for it. That's this social programming and conditioning that tells us you aren't good enough as you are, do something more. So I teach a whole class on how to identify what that is and where it's not serving you in your life. And then change that, choose differently for yourself. just because it's a cultural norm doesn't mean it works for you or that you need to buy into it. And I think the one privilege of being later in life is that like we don't have to care anymore. Our social currency by somebody else's standards might be going down, but by our own, maybe not, right? So that's the other one. And then all of that goes together, you guys, in this beautiful thing we call in psychology growth mindset. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It means that you have the mind that you are always growing, always, always, always growing. Like nothing is staying the same ever. Every single day we change. Every, moment that we're alive, we're aging a little bit, right? There's I'll say it sometimes like this. You can't step in the same river more than once, right? Because the river is constantly flowing. And so if you stand in a river, even as you're standing there, the sediments are falling, flying by, and things are eroding on the shoreline and underneath that you can't even see. So the river itself, because of its constant change and movement, you can't stand in the very same river more than once. Growth mindset is a way for us to do that in our own humanity. We are constantly changing, people, constantly. And that's just normal. That's humanity. We were supposed to grow. And if you have this rigid idea that I should control as much as I can control in my life, because when I'm controlling my life, that's when I feel okay, then anytime a big mess shows up in your life, you feel at a loss. And it makes sense, right? Like if a pandemic hits and all of a sudden the way you work, the way you take your kids to school, the way you shop, the way that you do life all of a sudden changes, when you have a rigid mindset, that's even harder to deal with. And so having this kind of changeable, open growth mindset really just helps you at any place in your life to pivot through whatever life throws at you. And wouldn't that be like a superpower right about now, right? Okay, so those are the masterclasses still up for free. Go to Take Back Your Life masterclass. And if you can't find that on Facebook, head over to learntoloveyourstory.com. Free masterclass on the menu will get you there as well. All right. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about, I had put out a couple different vlogs. So if you haven't caught those, they're on the blog part of my website on learntoloveyourstory.com. But they both, last week and this week, were about roles and like these ways that we can get ourselves feeling stuck, real stuck, when we get rigidly in our roles. So you can see how this marries up with that growth mindset stuff that I was just talking about. But when we really self-identify as the things we do, as the roles that we play, that's where we really start to get into this dicey spot where we can feel like we're stuck, like we're not allowed options out. And I know for a lot of us that are parents, this is a really good example. Like when you're playing the mom and the mom has to do all the things, then you're never really given the option to be a not mom on one day. Like that doesn't get written into it. And so you can really kind of feel stuck in, I don't get to take care of myself. I don't get to hang out with my friends. I don't get to have things outside of what I have to do for my family because I have this many kiddos and I'm doing all the things. And culturally, this cultural programming might not serve you, but culturally, women tend to take on more of that household stuff than male counterparts in heterosexual couples. And so this is just, one of the facets of how roles can really, pull you into a very small kind of a idea of yourself, and you can feel really stuck. So the way to get out of this is really to remember you are not your role. You are the human that does your role, right? You are the woman that is a mom. You are the woman who is, in my case, a psychologist. But I'm not a psychologist who always is psychoanalyzing and always knows, what emotionally is happening to you. No, sometimes I'm a woman standing in Target and couldn't give a flying right? So this is how you kind of shift it, is through that language of wrapping your mind around, I am a person first. And and then I am my role, right? The other thing that can come up is this idea of binaries, like good guy, bad guy kind of thing. And again, not to harp on the mom and dad role kind of a thing, but in heterosexual couples where it's a mom, dad, dyad, this with our social conditioning can show up as well. Like mom is the one that has to do all the household stuff. Dad does the outdoor stuff. Mom does the indoor stuff. So what does that mean, right? Like if you have these roles and you have these ideas around what those roles do, and you don't stretch yourself to remember, no, we're just humans, and maybe this human works better outdoors and that other human works better indoors, then we can really get ourselves into some of these rigid, stuck places. I think what I've seen mostly in this kind of facet as a clinical psychologist, I would say in relational or interpersonal breakdowns, communication breakdowns, I'm willing to bet almost always there's a little bit of, if I am this, then you are that. And if you aren't doing that the way that I want you to, then you're somehow harming me or, not mustering up to your stuff. And if you are starting to feel like you're not doing that you should be doing for the other person, you can start to be really down on yourself. Like, I'm not keeping up with all the housework. Well, no doubt. Like, you're teaching kids at home, social distancing is happening, and you're still working, and you're still trying to keep up with all that stuff. Inhumane, right? Like, not humanly possible to actually accomplish. So this is where, getting self-identified with our roles just really puts blinders on either side of us, that we don't see like the big world. One of the other ways that I help people with this, so language is one, like shifting your perspective. I am a human first, and then I do all of these things. And if I'm doing the mom thing, I'm okay doing the mom thing. But sometimes I'm going to be doing the, woman thing over here, and the other parent is going to have to step in here. It's not my job 100% of the time if I'm in a dyad where there is another parent, right? Or, when I drop them off at the babysitter, I'm a single parent. So when I drop them off at the babysitter, like then I go and I do my work stuff, and I do my, go out with friends or whatever I'm doing on that particular occasion to take care of the me that is Natalie, not the mom role. I'm not just stuck in my mom role and not able to shift from that. So one way that we talk about that is, bringing back your humanity and talking about yourself as a human, and then saying these are your roles. They aren't all of you. They're just aspects of what you do. You aren't what you do. You just do things. You are who you are. But another way that I can come at this with folks sometimes is to talk about, what would you rather see in your life? Right? Like, I'd really like to have better work-life balance. Hear this all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm just like, I feel like I'm going 100% there, and then I come home and I'm 100% here, and blah. I feel like there's just way too much going on, and I can't figure out how to find balance. And usually what loses out when you don't have balance? Work projects usually don't lose out, home stuff gets done relatively, right? Relationships start to hurt, and your self-care. So you start blowing up at people because you're more irritable, right? Does this sound right? And you don't do stuff for you. Like, you are the first thing that falls off your list almost every time. And I really want people to flip that on its head. In the masterclass, one of my courses is on self-care, just self-care. And in self-care, I talk about this concept that radically, you need to only take care of this first and foremost. And for women, that's a really hard thing to choke down with the programming and conditioning that we've gotten, that we're supposed to be the ultra caretakers, right? So tongue in cheek, what I call this is selfish is the new selfless. So we've all been programmed and conditioned to want to be very selfless, to be the caretakers, to take care of everybody in our lives and in our families. Okay, if you want to do that well, who's taking care of the vessel that does those things, right? You are responsible for taking care of this first so that this can go out and do all the things in the world that you want it to do. To be the best psychologist for me, you know, to be the best friend and the best sister and the best spouse and the best parent. If you want to be as selfless as you, if that programming and conditioning works for you, works for me, I love being a caretaker, it means I am solely responsible, number one thing, to be sure that the vessel that does that work is taken care of, right? And that's what I've been working hard in the last few years to really radically help people understand. We got to turn this on its head. This whole social programming that women should come, you know, that they should put everybody else first, and then if they have time left over that they should get to themselves, is so backwards that it has us all out of this life and work balance. I don't need to tell you how to do that. When you take care of you, you know how to do that. When you don't take care of you, one of the things I hear you complain about is that you don't have work-life balance. So what I help people do is get that back into check. Selfish is the new selfless. If I take care of me, I'm actually taking care of every single person in my life that I intend to take care of, right? So if any of this idea is like, I don't know if I agree with that, you can tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm having a little tough time with this, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about it. Here's 2 ways you can do that, okay? First, head to Take Back Your Life Masterclass. Watch the self-care. If anything, just watch day 4 on self-care. Selfish is the new selfless. And learn a little bit more about what my point is here and some of the things that I suggest that you do and some of the ways that we can even tap into resources that we already have that we might not be using. So intriguing, right? So if you want to learn about it, that's one way. The second way is to come on November 9th. I am going to be heading off a women's summit on self-care. So it's called Women of Brilliance Self-Care Summit. I posted on it earlier this week. You'll find it in my Facebook feed and my Instagram feed and my LinkedIn feed, and I think even in my Twitter feed. And you can get the link. I will keep reposting this until I, present on November 9th. So it'll be easy for you to find in my social media feeds. I want you to sign up for this summit because there are 6, myself included, but 6 of the most brilliant people around this idea of self-care that I could have ever thought to put together. I feel super honored that they are asking me to kick it off. And they're asking me to kick it off because I have this philosophy, this kind of mindset philosophy. So I will get way more in detail about it. And in getting into some more detail about it, I'll also be making the same kinds of suggestions that are in my masterclass. So 1 of 2 ways you can come. You can do both ways. You can go to my masterclass. It's free to you. Look at that stuff until October 31st. If you don't get to it, that's fine. There'll be another masterclass sometime in late November, probably after Thanksgiving, because I just don't see myself getting to that beforehand. So, kind of between the Thanksgiving and other winter holidays, I will be doing another masterclass, but I have 2 days of all 5 hours of this for free for you. So you can go to that masterclass, or strongly suggest, because it's not just me, but there will be 6 days with 6 different people, November 9th, 10th, and 11th, and then the very following week, November 16th, 17th, and 18th, I believe. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 week, and then the week after. And these are the 2 weeks leading into the week of Thanksgiving. Do yourself a favor. Learn a little bit more about self-care. It's good for you. I promise. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. I'm going to get picked up by my bestie here. We're going to get going, and we're going to have some fun. Eat some candy, all sorts of things I should not have in this body, but I don't care. You have a good weekend. Tell me in the comments, remember, what you're doing, because I'd love to hear about it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.